Good evening. It is Sissy from Sissy's Cards and Crafts. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Eastern Ontario, Canada. Welcome to my craft room and my squeaky chair, if that gets picked up on the mic. I am sorry for that. So again, it's been a while since I have checked in with you. I tried to do the paper pumpkin this month, but my recording just was not working at all, so I gave up on it. But it's almost time for the next paper pumpkin, so we'll do that when that one arrives. But there's a lot going on in the Stampin' Up! World. So if you're a demonstrator, you're aware of there's pre-orders going on, early pre-orders for online deals, or sorry, I can't think of the word of that. Online specials, online exclusives. That's the term I'm looking for. Again, I apologize. So there will be released in September a bunch of new ones. So we as demonstrators have the opportunity to pre-order. There's also the mini catalog coming out for September to December, and we have the option to pre-order from that as well. And of course, those are all going to include some Christmas stuff. But because new stuff is coming in, old stuff is leaving. So we're having a lot of stuff that is leaving. And over the next few days, I'm hoping to bring in some of that new stuff, or that stuff that's still available. Some of it is going on a good sale. Some is not so much the best sale. But as things sell off, that's going to affect what you can get. So we'll look at some of that stuff in the days to come. Another big sale that is on is all of our in color stuff. So anything that has to do with in colors. So obviously it's our stamps, our blends, our Stampin' Right markers. I don't have all my blends out here, but we have the Secret C. Well, that's Smoky Slate. We don't want that. Cloud cover, Secret C, as I say. That is, I think that's my favorite one of this go round. I really like that. Then we have Darling Duckling. This is just kind of what I can grab here. There's also the Timid Tiger, which I didn't get that in the blends, but I do have all of the inks here. So we have the Timid Tiger, Strawberry Slush, Secret Sea, and Cloud Cover. Cloud Cover, however, buying it in this pad, I'm sure you've already heard, has not been the best. You can still get these. They are on the last chance list. They are a little bit cheaper, but what they're suggesting is buying them in a Stampin' Spot. So they are available in a set there with that. And then, of course, just get a reinker that you can reink, or you can get the white craft ink. It comes with a blank pad and the reinker, and some people are getting the reinker for Cloud Cover and that craft ink set, and instead of putting the white craft ink on the pad, they're using the Cloud Cover on the pad. Still going to have the same effect as what this is, because it's the felt in the ink, so that's not suggested, but some people are doing that, and because they have the reinker, they can keep reinking it. So there's the inks, the blends, the Stampin' Right markers, as I mentioned, our cardstock, and it can be either the individual packs of paper, or the assorted pack, or even the designer series paper if it has in color, these in colors involved in that. Then that is also on sale. So great sale going on for that. The gems, anything that has to do with the in colors, this 2025 to 2027 in color, that is on there. And I'll link that special onto this website, this video. Okay, so what I thought I would do tonight is just to kind of get back to the basics a little bit. And I'm going to use the Cheers and Sips because it is an online exclusive that is available. Right now, one of the components of the suite is not available. And so you can't get the suite. But just FYI, the suite is everything just packaged together. There really is no cheaper price. You're not getting anything for a better price except for the bundle. So you always, well, not always, the newer ones are, but older ones, they usually take the 10% bundle off. But you can get the stamps and dies together, and that is a bundle, and that is 10%. So you can still get that, and that's with the suite. You get the bundled price plus just the price of everything else all added up. So for what is involved in the bundle, again, the Cheers and Sips stamps and dies, and this is the insert that comes with the dies in another folder or envelope. I just put mine together because I like that. I get a magnetic sheet and I stick it inside. Then my dies go on there, and now everything's together. And I just stick this insert in the back of my case so everything's all together. That's me. That's the way I do it. But the bundled savings for that, I believe, let me just look here. 56.50 in Canada. So that is the price for that. Again, I'll link all of that into this video. All right. Also, we get the designer series paper with the suite, and you can order this separately and get the, I believe it's 30% off discount. And it's Celebratory Sips designer series paper. And it, like I say, it does have in colors in it. So we have Berry Burst, Blackberry Bliss, Bubble Bath. Those are not Daffodil Delight, Lemon Lime Twist, Old Olive, Peach Pie, Pretty in Pink, Strawberry, no, Pretty in Pink. Those are all regular ones, but Cloud Cover, Secret Sea, Strawberry Slush, Timid Tiger, they're all in colors. And so therefore this would be part of the special. And this is what it looks like. So we have these lovely little special drinks. And then this cute little polka dot type paper on the back, and you get 2 of each in one of these packages. I like this one. This is one of my favorites. I'm just kind of cut into this one. I'm using it very sparingly because I just love these colors on that Blackberry Bliss and the Bubble Bath and Old Olive. This Old Olive I quite like as well, and we're going to use a bit of that tonight. Then this one is quite neat. So you can use your dies or use the dies and actually kind of just cut out the drink. So you can kind of cut out any different color. And notice how I'm just putting kind of some white at the top so your drink, has some space. I'm not cutting it so the whole cup is full of drink. And then even the larger cup, we can fit them on there. So we do have smaller ones that I can either have, well, they're not really going to work for that big die, but I could use the smaller ones there. So great idea for that. I like that because it's already colored, ready to go. And we'll probably look more at that in a couple days. This is a nice little cloud cover background, or kind of a starburst sort of pattern on the white. It's a good background. This one actually can cut out as well, and the drinks are already to go. So the unfortunate part is some of these, like with this lovely lavender, it's going to cut off, but then we've got these ones here that I could use. And the same for the larger ones, right? If you're going to have something that has fruit or greenery in it, it's going to cut off, but you come up to one that doesn't, and that would just be a nice clean cut, already colored, ready to go. Some of these others, so for this lavender, this one is not going to work, but I believe, yeah, on there we could have that work a little bit. It's going to miss some of it, but it will work on the flower part of it. We do have another one though that will work here. These little flowers, no, I guess they were just hand cut when I used them. So here is where we can actually die cut out some of these lavender. That works. We have the die for the mint, which is pretty awesome. We have the die for the rosemary, so that can be cut out there. These little cherries, so the individual cherries here, we can die cut them out. Maybe this one will work. Sure, we could probably do something with that. These little blackberries, again, the individual ones are going to be cut out with that. And we have, I'm missing a die. I might be missing a die in my set here. These little limes can be cut out. This is, forgive me, I can't think of what that one is. Oh, it's for the olive. It's a stamp for the olive. Strawberries, so we can cut a strawberry out. I thought I had a semicircle for those limes, but I'm not seeing it in my kit here. So let me just count. I got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, I guess there isn't a semicircle, which, I mean, that doesn't take much to cut them out. Fussy cut them out, that would be easy enough. Okay, so, and of course, there's the stamps that I could, stamp these out as well and cut them out. But you also have the already pre-colored ones that are pretty cool here too to cut out. And then there's this Secret Sea background. I really like this. I think that is just one of my favorite colors of the in color. It just looks so amazing in print and font, rather. It looks really nice. And then there's this one with all of the lovely little flowers in it, and then the Timid Tiger orange background. So as I said, you get 2 each of the, so you get 6 pages and you get 12 papers of that. So handy, you have the paper already there. Also, you get this great ribbon. So it is mesh ribbon, kind of a gold lined ribbon. So it looks really sparkly. It folds quite nicely or ties quite nicely into a bow. And then these gems, which are holographic resin dots, and they kind of pick up the color that whatever goes beneath them. They pick up a little bit of the pink, or if we have the green, they just kind of pick up those colors that are underneath and makes them a little bit, more, I don't want to say usable. That's not the word I'm looking for. I'm having a hard time grasping to my words tonight. I apologize. It's been a while and maybe I'm just out of the groove. Okay, so all of these things here, the bundle, the ribbon, the gems, the DSP, and I'm just going to throw this over here to remind you of that DSP. And then we also have these embossing folders, and it's a dual embossing folder. This is what is sold out right at the moment, so why you couldn't get the suite, but you could buy all of this and then buy this at another time. You're not going to save any money by buying it all at once, so feel free to go ahead and get the other and then purchase this when it comes back in stock. But you get this nice flower sort of pattern, and it's to kind of resemble, that shows a little better, kind of a glass. So what might be on your glass, or a nice background. And then here, just kind of, those old glasses that had the divots. Well, there's some newer ones as well that kind of make that. So these are not 3D embossing folders. They're regular embossing folders, but they do work with our mini Stamp and Cut Emboss machine. They'll fit in that, so it makes that quite handy. And very, very versatile little embossing folders, and that's kind of what I really like. I like the pudding embossing, as I've shared before. That's one of the things that really drew me to Stampin' Up! Initially, was I wanted embossing folders. All right, so if you go to the website and look at different, sorry, I'm just trying to pull up a page here that I had. You look at the different cards that are, or products rather, that are available to you. You see sample cards. You open up the catalog, you'll see sample cards. If you're wondering, what do? I want to stamp, I want to craft, but I just don't, I need something to kickstart me and get my, get the flow going. That is a great way to initiate that, is just find something you like in the catalog and copy it. And so what I thought I would do tonight is one with this. It's listed under the Cheers and Sips bundle. And it's just a simple card that's going to use some of our cardstock, our in color cardstock. And this is the Strawberry Slush. And then it's going to use some of our DSP. So I have this green, the old olive one. I'm just going to put on that. And our DSP, everything, just coordinates so nicely. So you might not be the biggest fan, and honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of kind of that pink and green, but then you add something on top of it that has both those colors, and it just brings it together really nicely. So some basics about making cards, and this goes through a lot of different crafting. One, think about your colors, and you want your colors to really, I don't want to say blend, because that might imply that everything should just kind of just flow together and be kind of seamless. That's not what I want. I want something that looks really nice together, and it gives me a good, just a good feeling. Those colors, they're bright, they do blend together when I put them together, but there is some good definition between the colors as well. They coordinate quite nicely. So I'm going to put these together. I'm also going to pull out a piece of white, and we're just going to push them aside for a second. I'll put them over here on my mat here that goes with my Glass Mat Studio, this little tray, non-slip tray. It's going to go over there. And this, just as I mentioned, is the Glass Mat Studio. It comes with this little tray. It comes with a nice chamois that helps keep things clean. It's very resistant to everything. It's really good for coloring with your blends on this, because it helps the ink blend, because it doesn't absorb it. Whereas if I had a couple papers, if I was wanting to color on this, use my blends on this white, and I was just on my desk, I'd want to put another piece of paper under there so I didn't get this marker on my desk, because it will bleed through this paper. Well, that's just going to pull that ink right through and prevent me from blending, whereas it doesn't absorb into the glass. So then I'm able to blend it easier, a lot easier, and it makes it nicer. So I'm going to just stamp tonight. So we've got our colors. Then we want to have some stamping, and our focal point basically is what I want to look at. Let me just double check if I've got a piece already cut here. Well, I do have I like to have just a spare piece of paper that I'm going to just kind of use to clean my stamps with. So I'm just going to have, that's just a me thing. I also need my blocks, and I'm going to just tonight, I'm going to use, I think everything will fit on this lovely D block, and these nice blocks of ours, ergonomical blocks, are easy to grab. My fingers aren't going to go into the ink. They've got a nice weight and size to them, and you can get a whole set of them. It's no longer available in this lovely kit, but pretty much all of these stamps are still available. Some of them they've discontinued, like I believe the lovely little A1 is discontinued. I think the H1 is as well. I can't remember, but we have all these lovely different sizes, and it did come in a nice box or case that even had this mat that we could stamp on if we needed to. But I know you can still get a set of blocks. They're just not in the case like they were. I'm also going to use my Stampin' Scrub. This is going to clean my stamps. You have your wet side and your dry side, and then I have my Stampin' Mist that I'm just going to spray on the wet side so that I can scrub my stamp here to clean it and then dry it off on this. This works really, really well for all of our stamps, but especially the red rubber. It helps to condition them a little bit better. All right, so we're just going to do something very simple. I'm just going to first off cut this piece of paper in half just so I don't have to have it so large sitting around here. So this here is our paper trimmer. It is awesome. You've heard me say that before. I'm going to take my 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. I'm going to cut it in half, and I'm just going to measure over here to that 5.5. Use my dark blade here, and it just cuts it right down. I've got the center. Other trimmers, the blade runs along the outside, and sometimes that's just not as stable. Another really nice thing I like about this trimmer is we have on this side 1.5 inches. So if I wanted to just take a little bit off, I can put it over and measure on this side and then cut, and I'm able to hold the paper here. Whereas if I needed to cut just a little bit off here, and I'm over here, and I didn't have this side to hold, it's not as sturdy, and I don't have the edge up here to help control that paper as well. So this was another big selling feature to me on this one. It has our, sorry, I've got a piece of sticky there. It has our cutting blade and scoring blade on them. Not all of them do that. Some will have both, but you actually have to take one out to insert the other one. So that, you know, it's nice, but it's just not it's not as handy. Now this little track, as you can see, I'm just cleaning out by taking one of my craft picks here and just running it through and kind of cleaning that out so it keeps that nice and clean and handy. Another feature of this is this arm, and again, a lot of paper trimmers have the arm that comes out, but you'll note that they don't all have continuous measurements. Now there is a gap here on the white. You can see it kind of stops at 6 1/8 and then picks up at 6 1/2, but there is embossed marks here. So if you really look, I can see there like there's 15, there's 16 centimeter mark right there. So they've even got the 32nd of inches measured out there, or millimeters measured out, which is really, really, really handy. Although, again, you can't see it on my camera, but I can see it here, which is nice. So continuous measurements and continuous paper guide up here. So I'm got an edge here that's stopping my paper from going. And yes, paper trimmers usually do have it up to this point, but sometimes they don't have them here. And so depending on how much width, and then sometimes there's just a little bit of a width, granted, but this one has a fair bit of width. However, all of them, there is a stopper there. So I can have that stopper all the way through, and the same at the bottom. It has that here at the bottom as well. So I can measure all the way down at the bottom. And my measurements continually go through, and I even have a midline measure here, which that's really handy as well. So a lot of great features about this. I've always struggled with paper trimmers until I got this one, and it works like a charm. You do get extra blades when you purchase one. Sorry, I needed a drink, but you can get you can purchase blades separately. So that's nice. All right, so I cut my paper in half, and I'm going to do a cup. Again, I'm just following what is in what's online. And it just has this lovely cup. So you notice how this is quite flimsy. If I went to put this on here, I could accidentally get it kind of off center. So the best thing to do with any of these stamps that are fine like this, especially when you get something like this, that's very just kind of one line, or these little sentiments that are quite small. Now, it's great if I wanted to curve it. So maybe I've got my cup and I want to curve my sentiment below it. I can do that. I can curve it the way I want it with these thinner ones, right? I can really make sure it gets a good curve if I wanted to, but sometimes I don't. A lot of times I want them straight. So what you're going to do if you want to make sure they are in the original way they were meant, is just kind of lay them down. Now, you can do it on your glass mat, but they are going to stick a little bit to that. So go onto a paper and see how they're not sticking there, and just let it go into its natural form, right? With that flat side up. And then I'm just going to come in with my block and pick it up. Now it's in that natural format and it's not going to be bent. So a little trick that has saved me a lot of the times. All right, so there's my cup. And I'm going to use the Secret C because, like I said, I really think it's a sharp color. It's nice and crisp. It's going to give me a nice look to this this cup. It's not what they used online, but I think it's what I'm going to use just because it will show very nicely. Okay, so you open it up and you notice how I did that. So first, just start. Our pads are always, the ink's going to be upside down. That keeps our ink ready to go. Just think it's just gravity. So we've got this little edge here. I'm just going to pop that open, swing it open, and then it slides. So see how it was upside down? Comes up. And then I'm just going to slide it along that track, and it's ready to go. When I want to close it, fingertips in here. Now see, I just put my finger in the ink. Baby wipe to clean that off as I knock my water and everything else down. Baby wipes, very handy to keep in your craft room to clean that ink off your fingers in case you don't want to track anywhere else. But this lovely little edge here, just grab your fingernails, fingertips, pull on it, pull that out, and then flip it over. So that's how we use our ink pads. I'm going to take my ink, I'm just going to tap it in, look at the back, make sure it's covered all the way. And then I'm just going to put it on top here. And there's my cup. Now I did want to put something in there, so I put that a little bit too high. So let's redo. Now, there's never anything wrong with paper crafting. And I could show you how we could fix this. So I'm going to just pop this down here like that. And let it sit for a minute because that will allow that ink to go into your paper. Now, this extra piece of paper I have here, I always just kind of get the extra ink off, and then I'm going to give it a scrub. So it's nice and clean now. That extra ink, if I hadn't done that, would be in my ink pad or my Stamp and Scrub, and that's just a little bit much. All right, so I'm going to now, sorry, just had a knock at my door. I'm going to stamp in our mint leaf here, and I'm going to grab Old Olive to do that. Now we're just going to kind of keep it basic tonight and just stamp on here. Now, some, like we had the dies, I could cut it with a die and stick it on, but I thought, let's just do this as if we were just stamping, so we don't have to worry about it. So I'm just going to put this mint leaf in here, stamp that on top. It shows it quite down in the drink. I'm just looking at my outline here. So we're just going to stamp, make sure I've got ink on here, and then I'm just going to stamp it in here. Now, by doing this, I've just kind of excluded the fact of being able to use the die to cut that out, which is fine. I can fussy cut it. So I'm going to just, now I had earlier my Old Olive blend here. So we're just going to hit that with some Old Olive. And I'm just going to quickly blend that with the light one. Now you are going to see that dark line there from the cup. But if we think about it, we would see that, right? If this mint was inside our cup. So I'm just going to put that in there like that. Quick little color. Those blends are really nice. It gives you a nice solid color. And one of the things I really liked about the blends, just to kind of show you here, I'll use this end. If I color, you don't really have, like there's a line there where those two, I kind of came together, but if I keep coloring and adding more layers on, I can kind of get rid of that line. And then if I leave it for a minute, it just blends out and all kind of bleeds together. It doesn't leave that solid line like markers would, which is quite nice to have that option. Okay, I'm going to also take the lavender, pop that on my block. You can see how it's sticking to my Glass Mat Studio. And we're going to use the strawberry slush. And we're going to just pop this on here. So I'm just going to stick that down. Again, I'm just going to paste, which is copy. I can't remember how that stands for. Copy. Anyway, it's you're free to case a card, copy a card. That's what we do. All right, so I'm just going to pop this back. Always keep things back together, especially these little ones, because they get lost very, very quickly. And ice, that was the other one I wanted, was the ice cubes. So there's these cute little ice cubes in here. I'm going to use my cloud cover, which is a very faint ink, but I'm going to even make it lighter by stamping off. So let me show you what I mean by that. So I've got my ink, make sure it's there, and you can barely see, but if I stamp once, that's full strength, then I stamp again, that is my second, it's a lighter strength. So I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna come in here and put my stamps there. So now it's very faint. I don't even know if you can really see it there, but ice cubes are quite faint, right? So that's good with what I need here for this. There is a line, and that's really all it is in this, and that is to go into your cup to kind of give that line of where your drink is at. I'm not particularly a fan of it, but let's try and see what it's like, what it looks like. And we'll use that cloud cover as well, just to be kind of a light sort of a drink here. And I'll stamp off and stamp that on here, just to kind of show that drink there. Again, not my most favorite stamp of all, but it does do the trick. Now, we could also pull out our cloud cover blends. I'm sorry. Oh, I did have one. I was like, I'm sorry, I could have had these out, but guess what? I did already. And we're just going to take, see what how dark the dark is. I'll just kind of make this like a blue sort of a drink. I'm going to come in around these edges here just to kind of give a little bit of a, and then you can see how I can take the light and just kind of blend it in a little bit. And I'm just going to make it look a little bit more like there is some fluid in here, drink in here. Just a lovely little light gray, sort of a bubbly drink. Let's kind of bring it through a little bit. Just a little bit more like that. Just to give it some more depth. You can also use, we have these here that are blender pens. I'll just show you how they work because it might have given us a nice effect here. All right, so you take your blender pen and your ink, and I like to squeeze the case together in the middle, which is basically going to give me some ink here. Then I'm going to put my blender pen in there and just come in and just kind of color it. And you can see how it's going to give me a little bit more variation in the amount that I'm actually using of my ink here. So it just kind of blends it a little bit. Takes a little bit of practice to know how and when to kind of pull the color around. But let's kind of pull it a little bit here so it makes it just look like we've got some fluid in there with that drink. A little bit more sparkly, we'll say. And then all you're going to do is go on a scrap piece of paper and give it a little bit. I notice this one's getting a little fuzzy, so I can just kind of, they're quite a solid tip, so I just kind of go around and cut off any little fuzzies that are on there. All right, and they're double-ended. Anything with pink or red is going to stain, but you'll notice that's pink, but I'm not getting any pink off of that. So great little way to make all of your colors go a little bit further. All right, so let's just take this off here. And we will fussy cut it, which really is just coming around and leaving maybe about 1/8 of an inch all the way around our outside edge. And the key to fussy cutting is keep the paper close to the fulcrum of your scissors and move your paper as you go. Don't do this where you're going to be kind of going to the end and then the end, because you'll end up getting edges that you don't want. And I'm not good at cutting this way because I'm right-handed, so I will come down at it from a different angle. And if you're struggling because you're close to your edges, then cut chunks off. So like with this, I'm just going to cut that chunk off and I'll come back and finish up those little edges that I can't reach in here. And I'll just come down this side. Doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm not hitting every one of those points of my mint, but just give a good illusion that they're mostly covered or cut out. It is not something that you're looking for perfection on. The more you try to make it perfect, the worse it's going to be, and you're not going to be happy with it. And as I'm messing that up, be mindful those blender pens will kind of fuzz up your paper a little bit if you use it too much in one spot, or rub your hand on it. So I just rubbed my hand on it. I shouldn't have. Okay. So I'm just going to trim that off. Don't be afraid to, like I say, take off chunks. So there we go. That's our fussy cutting of that piece. And then we're going to take and we're going to die cut this out because we have the die. If I didn't have the die, I could fussy cut that as well. So what I like to do is take my Stamp Cut and Emboss machine. You're going to have your cutting plates. So you've got your base plate and then your cutting plate. Now I did have seems to me I'm missing plate 1. This plate 3 should work okay, but plate 1 is the one I want, and I'm not finding it here. Craft day not that long ago, and these things haven't quite gotten back to the place where they should be. Okay, there's a couple things you can do here for holding your die in place, which I strongly suggest you do. So you can take a piece of washi tape, stick it to your skin or to your clothes or something so it's not quite as sticky. You just need a low tack tape. And you're going to line this up so it's where you want it, and lay the tape on to hold the die onto the paper. And sometimes even if I can get that to hold it right to the cutting plate as well, that's handy. A lot of people, and usually I use it as well, but I didn't see it till after, is just some Post-it tape. Really handy to have because it's that perfect low tack. So you want your cutting plate or base plate, which again should be the white one, but this one's pretty much the same size, and a lot of people will use it instead. Then you have your two clear plates. This is very well used, cutting plate as well as the top plate. And I'm going to push it in, and I've just got something that was stuck in there. I like to push my plates until that handle starts to swing, then I know they're engaged, and then I just run it through. You will hear cracking, popping, all of the lovely sounds that mean it's doing its job. That is nothing to be wary of, and like you can see, they are going to get all cut up, and it's kind of sad, especially when the first time around you got a nice clean plate, and then those first few cuts come into it. It's a little bit sad, but that's what they're supposed to do. Okay, so we have our lovely little cut here. I'm going to take my strawberry slush blend, and I'm just going to color that in to give it that full color. You don't have to. You could leave it. You could use the blender pen again with that strawberry slush. That would work. I could use some old olive here. And notice there's the two ends on your blend, a paintbrush sort of end and the bullet tip. Depends on how good you are with your coloring. Sometimes I actually prefer to use the paintbrush end. Okay, so now we're going to pop this on there like that. Oh, something else I could use is our, sorry, I'm having a hard time grabbing it here. Everything's just not cooperating tonight. This is our Wink of Stella, and what I can do is come in here and just add a little bit of sparkle to our drink, just to make it look like it's, and you can use this with ink like you do with blender pen, so that could sparkle to carry the ink. All right, that's it for that. So I'm going to pull back in my papers here, and we are going to put this together. So we've got our drink and this lovely little piece of lavender. It's not really lavender because it's red and or pinky color, but hey, it will do the trick. So what I'm going to also do is, so go back to kind of the basics of cards. Color is important. Our focal point is important. That's why we're talking about this. Let's just glue this down. And I just want to get the bottom part of this with glue, and you don't need a whole lot of this glue. This glue works really, really well. And right now I'm not even squeezing it. I'm just pulling that glue through because you really just need a little dot. And if you think you have too much, you can go to something like another piece of paper and pull off that extra, or you can just let it sit too. And this glue doesn't really dry per se, it just gets tacky. And so it works really well just to kind of leave it for a bit. And there's sometimes that's exactly what you want to do. So I'm going to glue this so I've got even top and bottom, but these are going to meet at the side. I'm just going to glue that. So you can see here with this orange how much glue I'm really using. It is not a lot, and that's really all you need. It works really well. I can't say enough about this green glue. Now, some people don't like the glue because it's a little bit sloppy and it's hard to manage, and they prefer tape runners. I struggle with tape runners, I really do. But with the glue, you do have a bit of time. Well, not really, it's stuck quick. Wiggle room. So I could have centered that a little bit better, which I meant to, but I didn't. All right, live and learn. So what we're going to do here is we're going to tie a bow. So try not to cut off the spool unless you absolutely have to. And if you have to, you have to. That's fine. But if you hold it on the spool before you cut it, like make your bow and then cut it, you'll save your ribbon. Because if I cut a whole length off, then I'm going to end up wasting more than what I would need. Now, you might have to move your spool around from one side of your project to the other, but that will work. All right, so now I've got a bow. And how do I want this bow to sit? Do I want it to go up and down, or do I want it to go sideways? Oh, let's just see the way it wants to be. I think we'll go for that. It's kind of half and half. I'm going to just kind of give it a wiggle and twist just to help it find its place. All right. And the thing I love about adding ribbon to my projects, and it could be a bow like this, it could be just a piece of ribbon behind my sentiment piece or my label, but it just gives sparkle for one, something like this, but it gives more texture. And that's another thing we want to think about with our cards is the texture. Now, this is true texture, right? I can feel it. It's giving me that added texture that I want. But even something like this DSP that has the illusion of texture to it, that can help as well. So there I go. I'm going to have my cup on there like that. And then my sentiment, we will put, do we want to put it at the bottom? Maybe I'll put it at the bottom here to help compensate for that little bit extra space that I put there. So before I adhere all of this, let's just put this together. And for our sentiment piece, we're going to have cheers on here. I'm just simply going to put cheers. We could put to you, to us. Let's celebrate. Let's do the let's celebrate because that's what's on the. I don't think that one is not part of this stamp. I will have to find out where that came from. Okay, so we're going to put those together so they are going to be on here. And what I'm going to do is find there's these mixed labels dies that just that's a set. These ones that I just got, and I'll see would this work if I did cheers. Let's celebrate. Would that work on that? Not the size I want, or could I go larger? Let's see if I can make this work here. So let's cut it out first. I'm going to try to use that I've already mucked up, but I think I'm going to just leave it because that dark color might come through that white paper. So again, get out our Daily Cut and Emboss machine. Now this one I don't really need to stick it down. I could, and it wouldn't hurt. But I think I should be able to manage that if I keep that in one piece. All right. So now that I've cut it out, let's see if I can do it without buggering it up. Put it back, put it away. All right. So let me get that secret C out again. So I'm going to center this. And this is another thing for this lovely glass mat. It helps us make sure we're lining things up well. So there we go. Here's, and I'm going to use the strawberry slush, I think, for the Let's Celebrate. See, I put that on there and I bent it. So let's not do that. Right. And be careful with these little ones, these little fonts. You don't want to push down too hard because you will alter the text. All right. And you know what? I said I wanted the smaller die, and then I went and got the larger one, but that is okay. So there we go. We're going to just put our drink there and our sentiment there. Just maybe move that bowl over a little bit. I'm going to center that along the bottom. Okay, so then the other thing that's really important to think about with our cards is that, so we have our texture, and then we also want to have dimension. So raising things up onto different levels. I'm just going to pop this here. And this is just a little glue dot. You get them in a box normally, but this was part of a paper pumpkin kit, so I just want to use it up. So that's secured now. That's not going to move. It's where I want it. And I'm going to place these dimensionals on the back here. And I'm going to straddle that ribbon. That and put on a bit of an angle. Okay. Now I'm also going to take this and I'm going to, because I popped this up, I'm just going to stick this down because I'm going to tuck it underneath that cup glass, I guess. Make sure I'm centering that. Doing what I need it to do there. Right. And then I'm going to take this whole thing and pop it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to use the edges of the dimensionals here to finish these up. I'll kind of rip it as well. All right. Finish those up. Oh, I've got this piece here. It's the last piece. I'm just going to put one in the center. All right. Take the backings off. Yes. All right, we'll take your pick tool. Very handy. All right, now make sure your card's opening the right way. And then I'm going to give that added dimension by centering this on the card like that. So there we go. And then we can take our white inset, which really I'm just going to take a peek. And then we can just pop it in like that to put our sentiment on. So whatever our sentiment would be for this, we've got let's celebrate. It's your day. We could put, or we could pull out a different that, like we've got here. Happy anniversary would be a good one. For a great friend is another good one. Your kindness made my day. All those lovely little ones. And maybe even throw on one of these little stamps that look like our flowers that was in the DSP. So that's just a basic card. We didn't use all the components because we're still these to use. All the components of the suite, except for the embossing folder, which we could use tomorrow. All right, so let's just put some of these on. Now keep in mind that groups of 3 work well, or odd numbers, so 3s or 5s, just to give us a little bit of bling helps, and throwing something on a sentiment piece really is nice as well. So there we go. That is our Cheers and Sips card. Card number 1, just basically using stamps, ink, and paper. Yes, we use dies, but we could have fussy cut those. Well, this is where we use the die. We could have fussy cut that. We could have definitely fussy cut something for this. It didn't have to be there. So just using the bundle and the DSP, very handy. All right, thank you for joining me, and hopefully we will meet again. Take care. Have a nice night.